Hello everyone. Welcome to Learn and Talk English channel. Do you want to speak English? Do you want to understand people when they speak English? Do you want to feel good when you talk to someone in English? In this video, I will tell you how people talk in English. I will also tell you how you can talk in English too. It is simple, it is possible, and it is fun. Stay with me. Let us start. Chapter 1. My first English conversation. My name is Jack, and I live in a small town in Poland. Since I was young, I have always been curious about the world outside my country. I see pictures of big cities, mountains, and oceans in books and on the internet, and I often dream about traveling one day. But I know that if I want to travel and meet people from different countries, I need English. English is like a bridge. It can connect me to people everywhere. That is why I started studying English in school. At first, it was very hard for me. I was shy, and I felt afraid to speak because I did not want to make mistakes. Sometimes when the teacher asked me a question, my heart beat fast, and my hands felt cold. I knew some words, but I could not say them quickly. Still, deep inside, I wanted to be brave. I wanted to try, even if my English was not perfect. One sunny afternoon, I went for a walk in the park near my house. The park was green and quiet, and I liked to go there when I wanted to think. As I walked, I saw two tourists sitting on a bench. They had a big map in their hands and were turning it around again and again, looking confused. I watched them for a moment. I thought to myself, maybe they need help. My first feeling was nervousness. I asked myself, should I try to talk to them in English? What if I say something wrong? What if they don't understand me? For a few seconds, I wanted to walk away. But then, another voice inside me said, Anna, this is your chance. You study English every day, but English is not only for books and classrooms. English is for real life. Be brave. Just try. So, I took a deep breath and walked closer. I smiled and said, Hello, can I help you? My voice was quiet, but clear enough. The two tourists looked up at me, and suddenly their faces lit up with relief. One of them said, Yes, thank you. We are looking for the museum. When I heard those words, I felt a wave of happiness. I understood them. All the listening and reading in school suddenly became real. I thought quickly about how to give directions. Then I pointed down the path and said, Go straight, then turn left. The museum is there. The tourists smiled again. One of them said warmly, Thank you very much. I answered, You are welcome, trying to sound confident. As I walked away, I felt like I was flying. My steps were light, and my heart was full of pride. The conversation was short, just a few sentences, but to me, it was very big. It was my first real conversation in English. I had spoken, and they had understood me. I had listened, and I had understood them. At that moment, I realized something important. I didn't need to be perfect to use English. I only needed to be brave and try. When I got home that evening, I opened my notebook and wrote down everything that happened. I wrote, Today I spoke English. Today I used English in real life. Today I felt strong. I decorated the page with a big star because for me it was a special day. That night, I went to sleep with a smile on my face. I knew my journey with English had just begun, and this small success gave me courage for the future. From that day on, I believed more in myself. English was not just a subject in school anymore. English was a living language, a door to the world, and I had just taken my very first step through it. Chapter 2. A Promise to Myself. The night after I spoke English for the first time with the tourists in the park, I could not sleep easily. I lay in my bed and thought again and again about the short conversation. I remembered their faces, their smiles, and the sound of their voices. I remembered how my heart beat so quickly before I spoke, and how warm and light I felt after I said the words. I felt like I had discovered a secret door, a door that opened to a bigger world, and the key to that door was English. I realized something important that night. If I want to open more doors, if I want to have more moments like that, I need to practice every single day. I cannot wait for my teacher to give me homework. I cannot wait for tourists to come to my park. I must take responsibility. So, before I finally closed my eyes, I whispered to myself, "David, from today, you promise. Every day, do something in English. Even if it is small, even if it is just one word, you must do something." The next morning, I felt excited about my promise. I wanted to start immediately. I picked up an old English book from my shelf. The pages were yellow and the cover was broken. But inside I found simple stories. I read one about a boy and his dog. At first, I understood only some parts, but I didn't give up. I read slowly, sentence by sentence. When I saw a word I didn't know, I looked in the dictionary. Then I wrote it in a notebook. It felt like collecting little treasures. That evening, I wanted to keep my promise again. I didn't want to read the same book, so I turned on the radio and listened carefully. A man was speaking English. His voice was fast, too fast for me, but I tried to catch just one word. I heard happy, and I smiled. One word was enough for that day. I said to myself, "See? You kept your promise." At first, it was not easy. Some days I felt too tired. Some days I thought, maybe I can skip today. But then I remembered the tourists, the conversation, and the feeling of pride. That memory pushed me forward. Even if I only listened for 5 minutes or learned one new word, I still counted it. A promise is a promise. Soon, my promise became a habit. I began to enjoy the little challenges. I read children's stories in English. I copied sentences I liked. I repeated words aloud while walking to school. Sometimes, my friends laughed at me when they saw me talking quietly to myself, but I didn't care. I knew why I was doing it. One evening, I sat at my desk and wrote in big letters, "English is my friend." I looked at the words again and again. A real friend needs time, patience, and care. If I give time to English every day, then our friendship will grow strong. This thought made me feel calm. I smiled to myself and whispered, "I will keep my promise." That night, I slept peacefully. My journey had truly begun. Chapter 3. My English Notebook. A few days after I made my promise, I decided I needed a special place to keep all my English words. I didn't want to write them on random papers or in school books that I might lose. I wanted something that was mine, something I could carry every day. So I went to a small stationery shop near my house. The shop was quiet, filled with the smell of new paper and fresh ink. I walked slowly between the shelves, looking at the notebooks. Some were small, some were big, some had lines, and some were plain. Then my eyes stopped on a simple notebook with a blue cover. On the front, in white letters, it said, "Dream big." I smiled when I read those words. It felt like the notebook was speaking to me. I picked it up, held it in my hands, and said softly, "Yes, this is the one." I paid for it, and when I left the shop, I felt like I was carrying something very important, almost like a secret treasure. That evening, I sat at my desk and opened the first page. The white paper looked empty, but to me, it was full of possibilities. I wanted the first page to be special, so I wrote in big letters at the top, "My English Notebook." Below that, I wrote my promise again. Every day, I will do something in English. Then, I drew a small star at the bottom of the page. The star was my symbol of courage. The next day, I began to use my notebook. Whenever I learned a new word, I wrote it down. For example, I wrote river, then drew a small picture of water flowing. I wrote happy and drew a smiling face. I didn't just copy words. I tried to make the page alive. Sometimes, I wrote short sentences like, "I am happy," or "The river is long." Writing these small sentences gave me confidence. Soon, the notebook became part of my daily life. In the morning, I carried it in my bag when I went to school. During the day, if I heard or read a new English word, I quickly wrote it down. At night, before I went to bed, I opened the notebook again and read what I had collected. Some days, I wrote only one word. Some days, I filled a whole page. It didn't matter. The important thing was that I kept my promise. One evening, while writing, I had a funny idea. I thought, maybe my notebook is like a friend too. Every page was like a conversation between me and English. When I was sad, I wrote simple words like tired or cold. When I was happy, I wrote sunshine or smile. The notebook didn't laugh at me. It didn't judge me. It just waited quietly for me to fill it. That made me feel safe. After a few weeks, the blue notebook was no longer empty. Its pages were full of words, small drawings, and short sentences. When I looked at it, I felt proud. I realized I was building something slowly, step by step. It was not just a notebook. It was a map of my journey, a picture of my growing friendship with English. Before I went to sleep, I opened to the first page again. I read the words I had written. Every day, I will do something in English. Then I touched the star I had drawn and whispered, "Yes, I am keeping my promise." That night, I dreamed of traveling to new places with my notebook in my hand, ready to write new words from the world around me. Chapter 4. The Library Discovery. One Saturday morning, I decided to visit the town library. It was not a big place, but I had always liked walking through its quiet rooms. The smell of old books and polished wood always made me feel calm. That day, I carried my blue notebook in my bag. because I never went anywhere without it now. As I walked inside, I greeted the librarian, an old man with glasses who always smiled kindly at me. I usually read books in my own language, but this time I felt curious. I wondered if the library had books in English. My heart beat a little faster as I walked to the shelves at the back where the foreign books were kept. At first, I saw thick books with complicated titles. I felt nervous. Maybe these are too difficult for me, I thought. But then, on the lowest shelf, I saw a small row of books for children. Their covers were colorful, with pictures of animals, boys and girls, and simple titles like The Cat in the Hat or Sunny Days. I picked up one book. On the cover, there was a picture of a dog with big ears. The title said, Ben and His Dog. I smiled because I could understand all the words. I opened the first page and began to read. The sentences were short but clear. Ben has a dog. The dog is big. The dog runs fast. I felt a wave of excitement. I could understand it. It was like finding a hidden door that I was finally able to open by myself. I sat at a wooden table and continued reading. Page after page, I followed Ben and his dog through their small adventures. Sometimes I didn't know a word, but I didn't stop. I guessed from the pictures, or I wrote the word in my notebook to check later. Slowly, the story came alive in my mind. I felt like I was not just reading words, but living inside a little English world. When I finished the book, I closed it gently and sat quietly for a while. The library was silent, except for the soft sound of pages turning from other readers. I thought to myself, if I can read one book, maybe I can read more. If I read every week, maybe my English will grow faster. The idea filled me with energy. I stood up, took 3 more children's books from the shelf, and carried them to the counter. The librarian looked at the books, then looked at me with a smile. "Good choice," he said softly. I felt proud, even though his words were simple. At home that evening, I placed the books neatly on my desk beside my notebook. I opened the first one and read again, slowly, carefully, enjoying every sentence. It was not easy, but I was not afraid anymore. Each book was like a small adventure, and each adventure gave me new words, new ideas, and new courage. That night, before I went to bed, I wrote in my notebook, "Today I discovered the library. English books are waiting for me. I will read them all." Then I drew another star next to the words. I fell asleep with the image of Ben and his dog running through the fields, and I dreamed that one day I would run just as freely with English by my side. Chapter 5. The First English Song. One quiet afternoon after finishing my homework, I turned on the small radio in my room. Usually, I listen to local music or talk shows in my own language. But that day, as I turned the dial slowly, I heard something different. A soft guitar began to play, followed by a clear, gentle voice singing in English. The words floated into the room like sunlight. I didn't understand every word, but the melody was beautiful, and the singer's voice made me feel calm. I sat very still, listening. Some phrases were clear. "Hello, my friend, I am here." Others were difficult, but I didn't stop listening. My heart beat faster. It was the first time I truly enjoyed an English song. The music made the words sound alive, almost like a story being sung just for me. When the song ended, I felt a little sad, as if a friend had just walked away. I quickly grabbed my notebook and wrote down the words I remembered. Hello, friend, I am here. They were simple, but in that moment, they felt special, like treasures I had discovered. The next day, I wanted to hear the song again. At school, I asked a classmate who liked music if he knew any English songs. He smiled and said, "Of course, there are many." After school, he gave me a small USB drive with a few English songs saved on it. That evening, I plugged it into my old computer and pressed play. Suddenly, my room was filled with music again. Different singers, different styles, but all in English. Some were fast, some were slow. Some told stories of love, others of journeys and dreams. At first, I only caught a few words, but I didn't feel frustrated. I listened again and again, letting the rhythm and sounds wash over me. Soon, I began to sing softly with the songs, even if I didn't know all the words. My pronunciation was not perfect, but it felt fun, almost like playing a game. I laughed at myself when I got the words wrong, but then I tried again. One evening, I had an idea. I chose one simple song and decided to make it mine. I listened to it many times, pausing after each line, repeating the words, writing them down carefully in my notebook. The first time I sang the whole song from beginning to end, I felt a wave of joy. It was as if I had unlocked a secret. The words were not just on paper anymore. They were part of my voice, part of me. Singing became my new daily habit. Sometimes I sang quietly before bed, sometimes loudly when I was alone in the house. The music gave me courage. Even when my day was difficult, an English song could lift my heart. I noticed that my listening skills were slowly improving too. Words that once sounded strange began to sound familiar. One night, after finishing a song, I closed my notebook and whispered, "English is not only in books. English is also in music, in rhythm, in joy." I realized that learning could be fun, not just work. Before sleeping, I wrote in my notebook, "Today I sang in English. My voice is small, but my dream is big." And beside the words, I drew a small musical note next to my star. That night, I dreamed of standing on a stage, singing in English to a crowd of smiling faces. In my dream, I was not afraid at all. I was free, and my song was my message to the world. Chapter 6. Meeting a Foreign Tourist. It was a bright Monday morning. I woke up early, feeling the sunlight on my face. After breakfast, I walked to the small park near my house. I liked walking there because it was quiet, and I could see children playing, dogs running, and birds singing in the trees. That morning, I carried my blue notebook and my little English dictionary in my bag, just like always. I never left home without them. As I walked along the path, I noticed a man standing near the fountain. He looked a little lost. He held a small map in his hands and looked up at the buildings around him. I thought, he must be a tourist. I took a deep breath and remembered what my teacher had said about speaking English with real people. This is my chance, I thought. I walked up to him and said slowly, "Hello, do you need help?" The man looked surprised at first. Then he smiled and said, Yes, thank you. I am looking for the museum. Can you help me? I nodded. My heart beat fast, but I spoke clearly. Yes, you go straight down this street, then turn left at the corner. The museum is next to the big white building. I pointed in the direction. He looked at me carefully and asked, "Can you repeat slowly, please?" I repeated the directions, even slower this time, using simple words. While we walked together, I asked him, "Where are you from?" He said, "I am from Canada. I am here on vacation." I smiled. "Canada? Very nice. I want to visit Canada one day," I said. He laughed softly. "You speak English very well," he said. I felt a small pride in my chest. I knew my English was not perfect, but he understood me, and that was important. As we walked, he asked me more questions. "Do you live here?" I said, "Yes, I live near the park. I study English every day." I told him about my school, my English classes, and even about my songs. He listened carefully, nodding, and sometimes he asked me to repeat words. I didn't mind. I knew that every conversation was practice. Every word I spoke made me stronger. When we reached the museum, he thanked me again. "You helped me very much. I am glad I met you." I smiled and said, "You are welcome. Enjoy the museum." Then he walked inside. I watched him go, feeling a warmth in my chest. I realized something important. English was not just for reading or listening. English was for connecting with people, for helping someone, for making a small difference in someone's day. That evening, I sat at my desk, opened my notebook, and wrote, "Today I spoke to a tourist. I helped him. I used English. I felt proud." English is not only a subject. English is a bridge. I drew a small star next to my words, like I always did. After writing, I looked at the books on my desk and thought about the song I learned yesterday. I realized that books, songs, and real conversations were all part of the same journey. Every day, I was learning in a different way, and every way was helping me speak better. I closed my notebook and whispered to myself, "One day I will speak to many people. I will travel. I will use English everywhere." Today was the first step. Before sleeping, I dreamed again. This time, I was walking in a big city with people from many countries. I spoke English with everyone I met. I laughed, asked questions, and listened to their stories. I woke up smiling. I knew that learning English was not just for school or homework. It was for life. Chapter 7. The First English Movie. It was Saturday morning. The sun shone through my window, and I felt excited because today I planned something new. I wanted to watch my first English movie by myself. I had never tried this before. Usually, I watched films with subtitles in my own language. But today, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to listen and understand English without translating everything in my head. I chose a simple movie my teacher had recommended. It was about a small town and a young boy who went on an adventure. The title was short and easy to remember, The Little Journey. I turned on my old laptop, adjusted the volume, and opened my notebook beside me. I wanted to write down words and sentences I did not understand. The first scene began. A boy was running in a green field. He laughed and shouted, "Hello, wait for me." I understood hello and wait. But the other words were new. I didn't stop. I kept listening. I paused sometimes, repeated a sentence, and tried to say it aloud. My tongue felt strange at first. I stumbled over some words, but then I smiled. I remembered my teacher's words. It is okay to make mistakes. Speaking is practice. As the story continued, I realized that I could understand more than I thought. Simple words like friend, school, food, water, repeated many times. The sentences were short. I could see the meaning from the pictures on the screen and the actions of the characters. I tried to repeat them aloud. I am going to school, I said slowly. Do you want to come? My voice sounded strange, but I felt happy. I was speaking English while learning. Halfway through the movie, I noticed something wonderful. I started to understand small sentences without pausing or looking them up in the dictionary. When the boy said, "I need to find my friend," I understood completely. I smiled and said it aloud. I felt proud. I could see myself learning. I could see my English growing step by step, minute by minute. After the movie ended, I wrote in my notebook, I watched my first English movie. I understood many words. I repeated the sentences. I spoke English. I felt proud. English is fun. English is life. I added a small star next to my words. Then I thought about my day and realized something important. Watching movies was not only entertainment, it was practice. It helped my listening, my speaking, and my confidence. That evening, I told my mother about the movie. She was curious and asked me some questions in English. "What is the boy's name?" I said. "His name is Tom." "What does he do?" she asked. "He is a student," I said. "He goes to school and plays with friends." My mother smiled. "Good job," she said. I felt even happier. I could talk in English, even a little. I realized that every small step, every short sentence was important. Before sleeping, I played a small game in my mind. I repeated all the new words from the movie: friend, school, adventure, run, wait, help. I imagined saying them in different sentences. I imagined meeting someone from another country and using them. I whispered softly, "English is not only for school, English is for life. I can speak, I can understand, I can dream in English." That night, I dreamed of sitting in a big movie theater. Around me, people from many countries watched the film. I could understand almost everything. I could laugh, answer questions, and even talk about the movie afterward. I woke up with a smile. I knew that learning English was not only about books or lessons. It was about listening, speaking, and enjoying every small moment. Chapter 8. My First English Friend. It was a warm Monday morning. I woke up early, feeling excited because today I wanted to try something new at school. I decided that I would speak more with my classmates. In the past, I often listened quietly. I understood a lot, but I did not speak much. Today, I wanted to change that. I wanted to make my first real English friend. When I entered the classroom, the teacher greeted everyone with a big smile. "Good morning, students," she said. "Today, I want you to talk with someone you don't know well. Ask questions, answer questions, and try to speak in English as much as possible." I looked around. I noticed a boy sitting alone at the back. He was new. I thought, this is my chance. I walked slowly to him and said, "Hello, my name is Ariel. What is your name?" He looked surprised but smiled. "Hi, I am Ben. I am new here," he said softly. I could hear his words clearly. He had a small accent, but that was okay. I remembered my teacher's words. Don't be afraid to speak. Mistakes are okay. We started talking slowly. I asked, "Where are you from?" He said, "I am from Thailand. It is very far from here." I said, "Wow, Thailand. I want to visit one day. How is it there?" He explained a little about his town. I listened carefully. I asked more questions. "Do you like school? What is your favorite subject? Do you play football?" He answered, slowly but clearly. I smiled. I was speaking English. I was understanding him. After a few minutes, we started laughing. He told me a funny story about his first day at the airport. I told him about my first day at school and my first English class. We used simple words, short sentences, but we understood each other. I felt proud. I realized that English was not about perfect grammar or perfect words. It was about connection. It was about speaking, listening, and sharing. During lunch, we sat together. We spoke in English the whole time. We asked questions about food, games, music, and movies. I taught him some words I had learned from my teacher and books. He smiled and repeated them. He also taught me a few words in Thai. We laughed together when I tried to say them. I felt happy. I had my first English friend. I could talk to him, understand him, and enjoy the conversation. After school, I walked home thinking about the day. I wrote in my notebook, "Today I met my first English friend. His name is Ben. We spoke English. We laughed. I understood him. He understood me. English is for connecting people. I feel proud. I feel happy." I added a small star next to the words, like always. That evening, I practiced more. I repeated the sentences I had said to Ben. "Hello, my name is Ariel. What is your name?" I imagined speaking with other people too. I wanted to talk with tourists, classmates, and anyone who spoke English. I whispered softly, "English is my bridge. I can connect with people. Every day I speak, I grow. Every day I speak, I am stronger." Before sleeping, I dreamed of walking in a big city full of people from different countries. I spoke English with everyone. I asked questions, answered questions, laughed, and learned new words. I woke up feeling excited. I realized something very important. Making a friend in English was not just practice, it was life. English helped me build relationships. English helped me share my thoughts and feelings. English helped me feel proud of myself. Chapter 9. My first English conversation in the market. It was a sunny Wednesday morning. I woke up early, feeling excited and a little nervous. Today, I decided to do something very new. I wanted to speak English outside of school for the first time. I wanted to try a real conversation with a stranger. I wanted to go to the market and talk to someone in English. I had never done this before. Usually, I spoke English only in class or with my friends. Today, I wanted to use English in real life. I walked to the local market near my town. The streets were busy. People were selling fruits, vegetables, bread, and clothes. The smell of fresh bread mixed with the smell of spices. I saw many people speaking quickly. Some spoke in my language, but others spoke English. I took a deep breath. I remembered my teacher's words. "Do not be afraid. Mistakes are okay. Speak slowly and clearly. I repeated in my head, I can do this. I will speak. I will understand. I will learn. I walked to a small fruit stand. A woman was selling apples and oranges. I looked at the apples and said softly, "Hello, how much are the apples?" The woman smiled and answered slowly, "Hello, they are $2 per kilo." I understood her. I felt proud. I smiled and said, "Okay, I take 1 kilo, please." She packed the apples and asked, "Do you want bags?" I answered, "Yes, please, thank you." I gave her the money and said, "Here you go." She said, "Thank you, have a good day." I said, "You too." I smiled. I had done it. I had my first English conversation outside school. I walked to another stand. A man was selling bread. I wanted to practice more. I said, "Hello, can I have 2 pieces of bread, please?" He asked, "Do you want fresh bread or brown bread?" I thought for a moment and said, "Fresh bread, please." He gave me the bread and said, "Here you go, enjoy." I said, "Thank you, it looks delicious." I felt happy. I was speaking English and people understood me. I could understand them. After buying some vegetables, I decided to speak to one more person. A boy at a juice stand was very friendly. I said, "Hello, can I have an orange juice?" He smiled and asked, "Small or large?" I answered, "Large, please." "How much?" He said, $3. I gave him the money and said, "Thank you, you are very kind." He laughed and said, "You speak English well." I felt proud. I smiled and said, "Thank you. I try every day." I walked home with my bag full of fruits, bread, and vegetables. My heart was full of happiness. I wrote in my notebook, "Today I spoke English at the market. I bought apples, bread, and juice. I understood people. They understood me. I feel proud. I can speak English outside school. I can use English in real life. I am learning every day. Every conversation makes me stronger. Every word I speak makes me more confident." That evening, I practiced again. I repeated the sentences I had said in the market. I practiced speaking slowly, clearly, and confidently. I imagined meeting more people and having longer conversations. I whispered softly, "English is for life. English is my bridge. I can speak. I can listen. I can understand. I can connect with people. Every day I speak, I grow. Every day I speak, I feel proud." Before sleeping, I dreamed of a big, colorful market with people from many countries. I walked from stand to stand, speaking English. I asked questions, bought food, and smiled at people. I understood them. They understood me. I woke up feeling strong. I realized that learning English was not only about books, lessons, or homework. It was about action. It was about speaking, listening, and connecting with the world. Today, I had done it. Today, I had my first English conversation in the market. Chapter 10. My English Journey Continues. It was a calm Thursday morning. I woke up early, feeling excited and happy. I thought about everything I had learned over the past few weeks. I thought about my first day at school, my first lesson with my teacher, my first English friend, and my first conversation in the market. I realized how much I had grown. I could speak more, understand more, and feel more confident. I smiled and whispered to myself, I am learning. I am growing. English is part of my life now. I walked to school with a big smile. The streets were quiet in the morning, but I noticed people talking and moving quickly. I imagined speaking English to anyone I met today. I remembered my teacher's words. Use English every day. Speak, listen, read, think, and never stop. I wanted to do exactly that. I wanted to continue my journey. When I entered the classroom, my teacher greeted me warmly. Good morning, Ariel, she said. Today we will review what you have learned and talk about how to continue your English journey after school ends. I listened carefully. She asked the class to share our experiences. I raised my hand and said, I spoke English at the market yesterday. I bought apples, bread, and juice. People understood me. I understood them. I feel proud. The teacher smiled. That is wonderful. Using English in real life is the best way to learn. You are practicing every day. That is very important. During the lesson, we talked about ways to continue learning English every day. The teacher said, you do not need to go back to school every day to improve. You can use English in your daily life. Read a short story. Listen to a podcast. Speak with a friend. Write a small note. Think in English. These small actions every day will help you grow faster than studying books for hours. I wrote everything in my notebook. I wanted to remember every tip. After class, I walked to my favorite cafe. I practiced speaking with the staff. I asked, Can I have a coffee, please? They smiled and answered, Yes, of course. I replied, Thank you. How was your day? We had a short conversation. I felt happy. I felt confident. Every day, I noticed small improvements. I understood more, spoke more, and felt stronger. I realized that learning English was not a race. It was a journey that I could enjoy every day. That afternoon, I went home and opened a book in English. It was an easy story, but it helped me read new words and practice my understanding. I did not stop to translate every word. I tried to understand the meaning from the sentences and pictures. I wrote a few new words in my notebook and repeated them out loud. I whispered softly. Every day I read. Every day I learn. Every day I speak. Every day I grow. In the evening, I practiced speaking alone in front of the mirror. I said, Hello. My name is Ariel. I live in Spain. I go to school. I learn English every day. I want to speak with people from other countries. I want to understand them. I want to travel. I want to connect with the world. I smiled at myself. I felt proud. I felt motivated. Speaking in the mirror helped me feel confident. I realized that mistakes were normal and part of learning. Before sleeping, I reflected on my journey. I thought about my first lesson, my first English friend, my first conversation in the market, and all the small steps I had taken. I realized that English was not only a language for me, it was a way to connect with people, explore new places, and understand the world. I wrote in my notebook, English is my bridge. Every day I speak, I listen, I read, and I think in English. Every day I grow. I will never stop learning. I will use English every day. I will help others, practice, and enjoy. My journey continues. I am proud. I am happy. I am learning. I am an English speaker. I went to bed feeling calm, excited, and motivated. I knew my journey was just beginning. Every day would be a new opportunity to learn. Every conversation would be a new chance to connect. Every word would help me grow. I felt ready. I felt strong. I whispered softly one last time. Tomorrow I will speak English again. Tomorrow I will listen. Tomorrow I will read. Tomorrow I will think. Tomorrow I will grow. My English journey continues. Thank you for watching. See you in next video.